What's going on YouTube? My name is Kristen Marie. I'm a licensed esthetician, an educator, mentor, a YouTuber, and a mom. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and as you know, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you're an esthetician or you're an aspiring esthetician or you love skincare. That is all welcome here on this channel and in this community. We just hit 80,000. It's so crazy. 80,000 subscribers, and gosh, 3 years ago when I started taking YouTube seriously, I had big dreams, but I didn't honestly think that it could get this big. And so just to keep seeing it growing, to keep seeing what an impact we can make together has been just such an honor, such a blessing, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your love and your support. If you guys have been keeping up with me in the last few videos, you know, we've been talking about some real things, and so I wanted to continue that trend, and there was just some more things on my heart that I wanted to share from my Real Talk video. If you haven't checked out that video already, go ahead and review that. Also, I just updated my online skincare course and what that entails, and I made a video about that, so go ahead and check that out along with any of my other resources that I offer. You'll find those linked down below for you, and make sure you're following me on all of my platforms. That's, you know, where I love to keep in touch with you and keep you updated. Anyways, today's video will kind of piggyback off of my last Real Talk. It seems like you guys really enjoy the realness, the rawness of my journey, and also I'm sure you read comments on those videos and read other people's stories. So I encourage you in this video to keep bringing that same energy, because I guarantee you that somebody is going through something similar that you're going through, and when you are able to read and relate to other people's stories, you feel more supported, you feel like you're not alone. And so that's the point of making these videos, is for me to be more vulnerable with you, and I would love in return for you to be vulnerable with me so that we can help support one another and see each other thrive. So basically this video, I thought of this because, you know, we'll get into that in the video. This Real Talk video is called Watch Out for These 5 Distractions as an Esthetician, and things to consider as a solo esthetician and entrepreneur. There are a bit more challenges that come your way when you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, in my opinion. Of course, there's going to be a handful of challenges in any career, but specifically, you know, we're here as beauty entrepreneurs and estheticians and cosmetologists, and so I wanted to keep it pretty specific to the things that I feel like I have experienced, you know, currently in my journey and in the past, and how I've been able to kind of overcome those things, and just to kind of spark thoughts and things to reflect upon in your own journey. So if that interests you, be sure to grab that pen and paper and continue watching. I just had to give you a round of applause, myself a round of applause, because we hit 80,000 subscribers, and that is a huge deal. My goal and dream for this year is to hit 100. So if you support me, if you support this channel, please share it with somebody else you feel could benefit from it. Repost my video on Instagram. I'll be sure to try to, you know, share it as well. But just spread the word. You know, if this has helped you in any way in your journey, you know, there's somebody else out there who could benefit from hearing what I have to share. Again, I really appreciate your love and your support, and let's get into this Real Talk. I like to share stories and give analogies for things, and because I have a 4-year-old, I watch a ton of cartoons. And one of my favorite cartoons is SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, I know there's some people out there who might not enjoy SpongeBob as much as I did, but growing up I had an obsession with SpongeBob. I had the comforter, I had the the plush toys, I had it all. You know, I think I had a SpongeBob backpack at one point. So your girl is obsessed. And now having a kid, he actually does enjoy SpongeBob as well, and so it's been fun to be able to rewatch some of the episodes that I loved back in the day. And one video we've been watching pretty regularly is the SpongeBob movie. So if you haven't seen that already, check it out if you're a SpongeBob lover. But the point of bringing that up is because I'm going to kind of just give you a little summary of a scene from that movie that, I don't know why, like when I was having my moment, you know, about a month or so ago, or my few weeks where I was feeling a little low, faced with some certain challenges, what felt like all at once. And honestly, guys, I didn't really share even everything that was happening. So this video will expand a bit more about, you know, what was kind of going on during that time. This kind of came to me during that time because him and I were watching that video, and I was like, wow, you know what, that's actually a pretty cool comparison. And I feel like Disney tries to do that, or cartoon videos try to do that, where they try to teach kids little fun lessons through a story. And so it's very common to see, you know, this being a certain moral of the story. In every movie there's an antagonist, and you know, if you've watched SpongeBob, the antagonist in all the series of movies is Plankton. And so there's a scene where you know, Mr. Krabs is opening up Krusty Krab 2, and there's a part where the interviewer is like, so Mr. Krabs, what inspired you to open up a Krusty Krab 2 right next door? And he's like, money. And, you know, everyone laughs, and then it pans to where Plankton is at the chum bucket, and he's watching through his little telescope, and he's like, like super frustrated, and he's like, how can Mr. Krabs have all this success and I can't even get one customer? And so he comes up with this plan to, again, try to steal the secret formula and be powerful and take over the world. And there's a scene right after that where he is, you know, standing outside, and he's like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna rule the world. And then SpongeBob comes running in because he's all excited because he thinks he's gonna get a promotion. So he's running, and he steps on Plankton, and he's like, oh, sorry. And then SpongeBob's like, what are you up to? Are you gonna go to the grand opening ceremony? And he's like, no, you know, I'm planning to rule the world. And SpongeBob just kind of stares at him, and he's like, well, good luck with that. And he just keeps, you know, going along his merry way. I found that was a really cool analogy, because I feel like in life will throw you planktons. And what I mean by planktons are distractions, people, situations, just anything maybe that is sent to try to stumble you or hinder you in your journey. I love how SpongeBob, I mean, as naive as he is and silly as he is, he still, in most cases, remains positive and keeps that kind of like childlike behavior or energy to him, where he's like, I'm not going to let anything stop me. And actually later in the movie, I think kind of the biggest thing that a lot of people were saying to him in the movie was like, oh, you're just a kid, you can't do this and that. And you know, there's a part where the mermaid they were working with turns them into men, and it just gave them this like crazy confidence. And so again, you know, it really truly does come down to your mindset, how you view yourself. And so we'll be talking more about that toward the end of the video, so be sure to keep watching to the very end. That's what I'm going to be talking about, basically, is 5 different planktons in life that I feel like I've been kind of encountering more being in this position as an esthetician, as a solo esthetician, and as a business owner. And so these are things to watch out for, and how, you know, maybe I suggest handling them or not letting it affect you. Plankton number 1. Okay, I'm going to be looking at my notes here. Plankton number 1, I mean, we kind of touched on this already, but it's the secret formula stealers, it's the secret formula stealers and the haters. The people that are like clearly against you, the people that are clearly wanting to take something from you because they're just unhappy with their current situation. And I always felt like, you know, if Plankton were to just focus on his recipes, his restaurant, his business, he would do so much better, versus putting all this energy and thought toward looking at others and saying, why can't I have that, or why don't I have this? And, you know, just getting so worked up emotionally and mentally over other people's success. I feel like as I've grown and gotten more of an audience, and others too that have been in my life before that saw me, being successful, and they weren't as successful in their careers, the secret hate is real. Sometimes it's not even secret. It's very clear and straightforward sometimes, and that can be really difficult to deal with. I know, especially for me, because I am more of a sensitive soul, I would say. I encourage you, if you have felt those emotions of looking at others and wishing you had certain things and wondering why her or why him or why they, take a step back and be like, why am I having these emotions? Why am I so dissatisfied? Those are things to reflect upon, because that type of attitude and resentment can be the reason why you're being hindered. You just really question like how people function in life who act that way, who literally are just so unhappy with their current circumstances, and they see somebody else who is doing well, but all of our choices lead to things, and I do feel like you can always turn that around. The plankton could literally be your next door neighbor. The plankton could literally be a family member, a friend, or a stranger. You just have to have tunnel vision. You have to decide who you're going to let affect your journey, and I'll admit I was letting it affect, and I do kind of feel like to an extent I'm still letting it affect me, but I'm doing my best. And you just have to realize that there's just those people out there that are just unhappy and want to project that on others. Be aware of that and decide how you're going to handle that, and hopefully you can remain positive and mature about things with those type of people, but sometimes you do just have to completely remove yourself from those situations. So just stay strong and put your blinders on. Okay, so plankton number 2 is, and this kind of piggybacks off plankton number 1, but I'm talking about frenemies and family. Those can be like maybe not as blatant as, like I said, a secret formula stealer or a hater, like who's just full on causing issues in your life, but there could be those people that you think support you and you think have your back, and you think you're good with that person, and that cannot be the case. They could literally be talking crap about you literally to the next person. And the best way to be able to kind of sniff these people out is to hear how they talk when they talk with you. And if they're always talking about other people and putting other people down, and venting about, oh well, this person was able to go here and this person did this, and just kind of having that negative conversation, then most likely that person is also saying those things about you. It could be someone that genuinely does support you and knows your story, knows your journey, but they're just kind of unhappy with their circumstances, and they just have these thoughts. And I want to remind you that your thoughts are very powerful. Your thoughts can project positive energy towards someone or negative energy towards someone. And so I challenge you to also look at yourself and be like, hey, how can I change my thought to something powerful or positive for that other person, versus wondering why not me. I have been able to see and I would say it's more so friendships that come later in life, because a lot of the friends that I have that I grew up with, it's a different conversation, because they've seen me change and grow over time, and they know my story. And that's why I'm trying to share more of my stories, to give you perspective on what I've been through and how I've gotten to where I'm at, and what I've done to overcome those things, so that you understand kind of like that my success and my what I have, what you see, there was a lot that went into that, a lot of pain and tears, and even still to this day. And to give you perspective on that, it didn't just happen overnight for me. And so the people that I've found who don't understand as much are those people that don't truly know you, that haven't been in your life for very long. And so you can do your best to try to explain your story, but sometimes it's just not even worth getting into or being vulnerable with people like that, and so use your discretion, of course, when it comes to sharing your story. Again, you'll kind of start hearing like little outbursts of how people really feel, especially when you have a conflict with them. If a conflict comes up and they start saying certain things, I don't have it this way, or you're lucky that this, or not everybody's as fortunate as this, or you, or they'll say little things like that, and that's a clear sign that they got some secret hate going on. It's good to network and know a lot of people in your circle, but at the same time, you don't want to put yourself out there for everybody in your business about everything to everybody, because it's just not necessary. Choose the people, the quality people in your life that have the best intentions for you, and share it with those people. And then people around you, it's outside of that, should of course keep it real with them. You don't have to slap a smiley face on like all the time, but you can just simply say, hey, I'd just rather not talk about it, but I'm kind of going through some things. Hope that makes sense. And that's kind of how I would deal with that. Okay, so plankton number 3 to watch out for would be industry glamorization. And what do I mean by industry glamorization? So we are in an age of social media, and there has been this phenomena of social media being just such a huge impact on how we live our lives. And from being a 90s kid to where it's at now, I actually feel like I've been uniquely able to see the transformation over the years of how kids are being raised today, what it was like without social media for a period of time, and then now seeing social media's impact. And social media has been a tremendous tool and blessing for people with businesses, for entrepreneurs, and it can be a very powerful and wonderful thing in people's lives. And also too, it helps you keep in touch with people that you might not see on a regular basis. Like before, when you wanted to see somebody or be in touch with someone, you would actually have to see them, instead of just scrolling and being able to see a photo or a video. So with that being said, some of the things I've been seeing is this false glamorization. Now, is there wonderful and beautiful things to being an entrepreneur and having a business and being a solo esthetician and making good money? Like, of course. That's, I think, what everybody wants, is to have that, be that girl who has it all, or that guy who has it all. It's definitely possible. It can also be a bit exaggerated. And again, like I said in my last video, you might see all these wonderful things happening for that person, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Most of the time, people aren't going to share their struggles and their hardships online. So don't be fooled by, the Chanel bags and the Gucci bags and the Louis bags and the nice cars and the trips and all of these things that people love to showcase, which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've done that. But remember that that's not always the case opening a business. Sometimes, people will get themselves into debt doing that and trying to portray themselves a certain way. And sometimes there's seasons of plenty and there's seasons of scarcity. And so you don't truly really ever see that. And I've been real with you guys and said, hey, I've gone through seasons of scarcity, I've gone through seasons of plenty, and I do feel like we are in a period in our country and in our economy of scarcity and of fear. A lot of people are hesitant to spend money right now, or hesitant to do certain things, and so that has affected our industry because we are a luxury service. Not everyone can afford to do skincare. And so I will say business has still been good, but could it be better? Of course. And I do feel like I'm going to be working my ASS off to try to get it picked back up again, because 1, I was distracted. 2, I've been traveling, my kid was out of school, I had other things in life going on. And then 3, I was getting kind of comfortable. I was enjoying the fruits of my labor. And so now I'm like, okay, we're getting back to the grind. We got to get to work again, and you just got to go from there. But just know that even for someone like me, who's had a business for 3 years now, will have seasons of scarcity and plenty. And my friend, actually, I was talking to her on the phone today, and she was like, I heard this quote and it stuck with me. And she said, even the trees lose all their leaves at a certain time of the year, but they're still standing tall. And so I encourage you to keep standing tall. Even if you lose all your leaves, those leaves will always grow back, as long as you're watering yourself and you're getting water and sunshine from other places. You will always grow those leaves back. And just know every tree and every person goes through seasons like that. Every business goes through seasons like that. Even though it looks like on the outside someone's doing really well and thriving, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And you also don't want to get into this industry with false expectations, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make all this money, and I want the secret formula to do that. But I promise you, there is honestly no secret formula, and I've shared this before, that the secret formula to success is you, and being uniquely you, and being real and honest about where you're at in your journey. Hopefully this will inspire others to be vulnerable and raw with people, but I have seen that a lot on social media, of this just like false glamorization of having a business. It is wonderful, but there's so much work and time and stress that comes with it, and responsibility. I've tried to emphasize that to you guys in my other videos, where I've given you tips on what it comes with it, and I've done a course on it. I've talked about going solo, and it's just, there's so much to consider, and I promise you that course doesn't even probably cover everything, because there's so many nuances that don't get talked about or forgotten. The day-to-day grind, you forget, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, and it can be very overwhelming, and there's only certain personalities and people that can handle that. So I want to remind you that even though a lot of people strive to be entrepreneurs and self-employed in this industry, it's okay to not pursue that. If you want to work for a spa for the rest of your career, that is totally okay. You don't have to strive for something that you just don't want to do, or you don't have the skill set to do. And I hope I'm not offending anyone saying it that way, but there's just certain people that cannot handle that. Now, can you learn it? Can you challenge yourself and work on those things? Absolutely. If you have the desire and the motivation to work at it and do those things, for sure you can build that maybe that muscle that isn't as strong as your other muscles. So you do have to look at yourself and say, am I cut out for this? And watch some of my other videos and be like, do I want to deal with unhappy clients? Do I want to deal with money? Do I want to deal with taxes? Do I want there's all these things you have to consider that, again, is not shown on social media. It's not shown when people talk about their success. Having this false sense of security doing what we do, forgetting to think about the future. Are you willing to kind of put your retirement on the line? Are you willing to have the not the greatest health insurance? Are you those are the things that you have to think about in this industry if you're going to be a solo esthetician. And I had to kind of, I feel like I have been kind of wrestling with that a little bit as a 31-year-old who is single and has a kid. It's kind of almost, I wouldn't even say midlife crisis, but it's just things that you think about as you get older. And I know some of you guys watching this are teenagers or in their early 20s, and you're just trying to decide what to do with your life. And these are the things you got to think about. And I've tried to encourage you to really decide, what's best for you in your future, because there is a huge reality check when you work for yourself. There's more things to pay for. There's less security. There's more debt involved. You got to consider those things. And hopefully you being part of my community here will help you, guide you through those things. But am I going to be able to make decisions for you or help you avoid everything? No. I'm honored to feel like you've put me in such high regard and taken my advice, but also I'm not perfect. I don't have the whole secret formula figured out. So when you come to my courses or you come to me in a coaching session, I'm going to give you the best advice possible, the advice that I would tell myself, but also come into it knowing that I'm not going to be able to solve all your problems. Do your research. Look at as many videos as possible from other influencers, from other people in the industry. Hear their stories, and don't necessarily look to social media to give you this idea of what this industry entails. Plankton number 4. Ooh. This is a deep one, guys. Something that I haven't really talked too much about on my channel, and I've decided that I think it's time to kind of share a little bit more about this side of me. because it has actually a huge impact on my life, on my current circumstances, the woman that I am today. And I call plankton number 4 Cupid. We're talking about love, Love, which can be such a wonderful, beautiful part of life. I think we all crave love. We all want to find that person to grow old with, to build a life with. And I'm smiling inside thinking about who that person might be. Again, I'm a Pisces, and I'm a big dreamer, a lover, but I have made some decisions, pretty big decisions, that led me here. I don't regret a single decision that I've made regarding my love life, because it brought me my son. I would never change that. When people talk to me and ask me for advice, I always share my story, and I share these things to help spark thought, because every choice has a consequence, whether it's good or negative. Every choice you make will affect your future. And sometimes we make these choices and you're like, darn, I made the wrong choice, but that next choice that you make could change everything. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I got a comment when I put a poll out for what topics to talk about, and this one person commented saying, how do I deal with heartbreak? Yeah, I'll be real with you. I've had a lot of heartbreak in my love life. I'm obviously not going to get into all of them, but as you know, probably the main one was my son's father. Currently, we are not speaking, but the communication line is open. He knows that. That was a huge learning lesson for me with that individual, and I wish him the best, and he knows that I will never hinder his relationship with his son. But I will be a mama bear and be protective, and also make calls that I feel are necessary for my son's safety and my son's mental well-being. And so when it comes to heartbreak, I would say I got to the lowest of the low when it came to that relationship. We were on and off for 4 years. When it came to having my son, that was just the tipping point. I saw his true character, and I still wanted him. I still wanted to make it work. Life had to keep showing me like, nope, he's not the one. He's not the one. He's not the one. I know, and I've talked to several individuals in my life that are also in this cycle. And I'm glad and happy to say I'm out of the cycle. I've made it very clear where I stand with this relationship, and it's never happening again. It cannot happen again. And you also have to make that decision when it comes to people that you share emotions and love with, and that can affect you so tremendously. And you can either let that continue to define you and your future and hold you back, or you can let it be what sparks you to change your life. And I promise you that that is a possibility. If you decide to put yourself first and love yourself first, your whole life could change. I made that decision for myself. I moved away from where I was living. I moved away from my friends. I moved away from a good job. I moved, I changed my whole world. I was in Southern California for almost 10 years. I loved it there. But I knew I needed to be closer to a community that could support me and help me through this season and get away from the toxicity. Sometimes you have to make pretty bold decisions when it comes to handling that type of a plankton, because that digs deeper than just a friend or somebody, a stranger. Someone you love and shared intimacy with, and now a child with, that can be so heavy and painful. And I had to separate myself from that. And it was the best decision I ever made. Gosh, Kristen, you freaking did that. So proud of you. And I'm so proud of you if you decided to do that, and if you hopefully make that decision in the future and use it as your fuel to be like, you know what, my revenge is going to be being a boss. My revenge is going to be being successful. My revenge is going to be being happy. I do feel so good about what I've been able to achieve without this person, and I know this person is looking and being a little plankton over there, being all upset, and you're gonna have, those people in your life who are gonna try to suck your energy and make you feel low and bring you to a low place. Trust me, I'm still even experiencing having to protect what I have with the people that I've, you know, been dating or have dated. There's a lot of those out there, and it's kind of, you know, I've sadly had to like train myself to watch out for that. And how I've been able to sniff those people out is, again, just seeing like how supportive they are of you when it comes to working. Are they saying, oh, you know, you gotta film again, you gotta edit again, come on, let's go do this instead. Okay, you know, that would be a clear sign, I feel, that that person is not supportive. Or if it comes to, you know, supporting your dreams versus their dreams, and they're prioritizing their dreams over yours, that's another clear sign that maybe y'all are not on the same page, and you need to talk that out, because your dreams are important too. We all get busy, we all have goals and dreams. Sometimes when the communication is off and that person is just focusing on themselves, you get lost in that. And so I've had to put my foot down a lot with people I've dated that weren't communicating well with me, or putting me first, or being consistent. And that's another thing to watch out for, is if that person is saying all these things in the beginning to win you over, but then they don't continue to do it over time, then that person's not for you. You want to be treated like a queen or a king forever. Especially if I'm going to put my all and invest my time and energy into you. Like literally, if I'm going on a date with you and paying for a sitter and not working on, you know, the other things I have to work on, like I am investing my time in you, and you have to make that very, very clear to say, hey, these are the boundaries, and you need to set boundaries for yourself and for that person. And knowing that sometimes those things get put to the side, and if I am putting those things to the side, that means I really like you. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. I could have a whole video dedicated to dating advice. I do feel like dealing with heartbreak and being an entrepreneur and a business owner is a very challenging scenario to be in, but I encourage you to use it as fuel to keep pushing forward and to put yourself first, ultimately, and your children first. So that's what I gotta say about that, plankton. Okay, I had a fifth plankton, but I feel like I covered this pretty much throughout the video, but that fifth plankton is yourself, is your own ego, is your own fears, is your own past traumas. You might look at me right now and say, oh, she was probably, and honestly, I'm not saying this because I think this of myself, but others that I've met along my journey have said these things to me, and I'm like, huh? But the people who grew up with me know. People will look at me and say, oh, she was probably the popular girl, she was probably this, she probably had this and that. I definitely went through an ugly duckling phase, guys. I was a tomboy. I dressed like a punk rocker sometimes. I wore pants. I played sports. I had glasses. I had braces twice. I didn't know how to do my hair right. I was overweight. I was not that girl, guys. I was not that girl. And I still carry some of that with me. I know I've grown. I know I've blossomed. I know I have changed some things about my body, and too on the inside about how I see myself. And I do love who I've been becoming and who I am. But you still have these insecurities at the end of the day, past traumas. And for you, it could be just things that you went through as a child. You can carry those things with you into your adulthood, and it can really affect you and your decisions. A comment I get from students or people I coach is they say, well, I don't know if I am capable of being able to do this, or if I'm good enough, or, you know, this person is like this and I'm like this. Well, it's not like, stop comparing yourself. You're gonna go crazy comparing yourself to other people because you are not that person. You have your own personality, you have your own beauty, you have your own skills, you have your own, everything is uniquely you, and you have to remember that. I definitely still wrestle with some of my own past traumas and fears, and definitely have played the comparison game before of like seeing other influencers like doing this or that, and I'm like, I can't do that. How do they do that? And you just have to grow and be willing to get uncomfortable. That's the only way you can grow, is to get uncomfortable. Common fear is being on camera, losing weight, going on a financial diet. Like, all of those things are uncomfortable, but it's gonna make you better. I encourage you to not let your own self be a plankton in your life. And just remember that your mental space is not free. You know, don't rent your mental space to any of these planktons, because your mental space is valuable and it should be treasured and nurtured, just like watering grass or taking care of a home. You don't want to let these planktons into your home, into your safe space, into your peace. And then ultimately too, that always will all affect other things around you. It'll affect your business. It'll affect how you are as a parent. It'll affect how you walk around in life and how you project your energy to others. And I'm telling you, if you're happy here on the inside, you will radiate love. You will radiate this certain energy that people are drawn to. And I notice that when I'm, you know, not in the happiest place, I don't attract as many clients. I don't attract as many followers. I don't get as much positive feedback, because I think energy is so important. It's such a real thing. Whatever is going to make you happy, and the demons and the emotions you need to deal with, I encourage you to go to therapy. I encourage you to journal. I encourage you to handle those things that might be holding you back, because they're only going to make your business more successful if you are radiating happiness and love. Ultimately, yes, love. Channel your inner goofy goober. If you guys watch the SpongeBob movie, at the end, SpongeBob says, you know, I know you guys said I was a kid, but, you know, I was able to make it to Shell City. I was able to do this. I was able to do that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being a kid. And he's like, and I'm a goofy goober. And he like played this like crazy rock song at the end and, you know, saved the whole Bikini Bottom. And, you know, just embrace your goofy goober, embrace your story, embrace what you've been through, and make that part of your story and share that when it's appropriate. You know, you don't need to talk about it as it's happening if you don't want to. Only the people that you know have your back and that can actually give you solid advice. But I would keep things a little bit more private if possible when you're going through them, because guess what? Emotions are heightened during that time like that, and you don't want to make any decisions, to one, during a Mercury retrograde, which is happening right now, and two, when you're emotionally heightened and frustrated and scared and angry and all these things. You don't want to make decisions during that time. Really take the time to heal and evaluate your life and say, are these planktons? Do they need to be squished and thrown out? Sometimes those decisions are really tough to make, and I pray that you will have the strength to put yourself first and to make these decisions and do them wisely. And sending you good energy, love, and support. And we'll end the video right here. This was a lengthier video, but I do feel like these are things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I will continue to try to be vulnerable with you. And comment below, you know, what point you felt really hit home for you the most, and share your story. Share it with others, because others are watching this and are going through some things and they need encouragement. I love you so much. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.